17.
Oh, nice naman people greet, no? They say good
know.
evening
Yeah.
from wherever.
How polite.
Nice.
Okay,
Yeah.
one more is now streaming live on Facebook. Ayan.
Hi to all panelists. Ing.
I think we are on live now. There we are.
We are live.
They can see us.
Okay na po, sir.
Okay, wonderful.
When
It's so quiet here.
No time
Why-
type in music.
Yeah, nga eh. That's why I said music.
Miss Joonee, your music.
I like children's music. You really don't want to. Be careful what you wish for. It's so quiet here. Can they hear us?
Yes.
Oh, we're
Here.
They can hear
Hello, everyone.
I'd
I guess-
sing, but you might all leave. So, good evening.
it. Good evening. So we can start now. Okay. All right. So let's begin. Hello and good evening, everyone, and welcome to our fourth episode of Park Conversations titled Teaching Philippine History to a New Generation of Heroes, brought to you by the National Parks Development Committee, an agency attached to the Department of Tourism, tasked to develop, preserve, and manage Luneta's Rizal Park and Paco Park. I am your moderator for the evening. I am Apelar. And joining us in celebration of History Month and National Heroes Day are the authors and collaborators of the 2016 and 2017 NBDB and PBBY National Children's Book Awardee, Halo Halo Stories. And with us, we have Miss Halo Halo Histories. Joined with us tonight, we have Miss Michelline Suarez, Miss Divine Hill Reyes, Miss Joonee Garcia, and Mr. Benjor Catindig. Hello, hello, and welcome.
Good
But
evening.
before I give them the floor and proceed with our discussion, we would like to remind you of the following. Tonight's Park Conversations webisode is also streaming live on Facebook and through our Facebook page, npd.ph. It will be available on demand after this live discussion. We encourage everyone to share our webinar with your social media friends and use the hashtags, #ParkConversations, #History Month, #HaloHaloHistories, and #National Heroes Day. We'd also love to hear from you during the live discussion. So if you have any questions for our speakers, you may send it through the Q&A button, which is also found in the lower portion of the screen for our Zoom participants. Or you may post your questions in the comments section for our live video for our viewers on Facebook. Please note that we will do our best to accommodate all the questions subject to the availability of the time of our speakers. And lastly, for those who who will successfully answer and submit our online survey form, they will be able to receive a copy of their digital certificate of attendance. So we will be posting the link of the survey before the end of this webinar at the chat box or in the comments section. So please review your entry details before hitting that submit button, especially since your name will appear on that digital certificate. So without further ado, let's start tonight's Park Conversations webisode by welcoming our speakers. So I'll give you a little intro about our speakers, our special guests tonight. First off, we have Miss Michelline Espiritu Suarez. She is a wife, and she is a wife to her college sweetheart, a new Lola. Congratulations. Mother to 5 kids and mistress to 3 lazy dogs. A liberal arts graduate, she is fascinated by history, philosophy, sociology, and literature. Halo Halo Histories is her midlife crisis in book form. She hopes the series will spark an interest in and love for our common heritage in children and adults alike. Our next guest speaker, we have Miss Joonee Garcia, or Miss Joonee to her students. She is a music teacher, theater teacher, composer, writer, and occasional actor. She penned the musical Princess and the Red Carp, as well as many childhood music and movement programs. She was the local music director of the London West End production of The Sound of Music in Manila in 2017. Next, we have Miss Divine Hill Reyes. She is a writer with many years of experience in the advertising industry. She has written a musical album for kids about positive values, several episodes of the children's TV show Jollytown, a few short films, and lots of commercials. She also wrote the book about inclusivity called Pitong Chinelas, illustrated by Mr. Ben Catindig. She gets her inspiration from her husband and her 2 daughters. And last but not least, we have Mr. Benjor Catindig. He is an illustrator, graphic designer, art director, animal lover, and is part of a puppet theater and youth community in the South. His many works include theater posters, a children's book, The Legend of Juan Pawikan, and a graphic short story, Carnaval, co-written with Miss Joonee Garcia, which was a finalist at the first Philippine Graphic Fiction Awards. So ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you and welcome our guest speakers from Halo Halo Histories. All right.
All right. Hi. So good evening, everybody. We are Team
evening.
Halo Halo. And we are here to talk to you about teaching Philippine history to a new generation of heroes. So let's just wait for the slides to kick in. There they are. All right, here we go. So you're probably wondering what HHH is. If you're not familiar with our books yet, we write Philippine history for kids. And a lot of people often wonder what made us do something like this. Okay, it's like this. When you were a student, how did you feel about history? Like when you actually had to study it. A lot of us love history now and love to read about it. But think back to when you were a kid. How did you feel about your history classes? It's different, of course, for all of us, but I think like my experience is probably very common. We had to do it in Filipino because it was part of social science. And on alternate days, I would be terrified or bored, occasionally interested, very often ambivalent. This could be due to many things. All it took was one bad teacher or one dry textbook, and many of them were. And it just really didn't hold my attention, which in hindsight is really sad because history is such an interesting thing to talk about when you talk about it in an engaging way. And this is what kind of inspired us to write the Halo Halo History series. 2 of the people on our team are mothers, Michelline and Divine. And this is actually Micheline's brainchild because she wanted to find a way to share her love of history with her kids. And there was not anything locally available that was doing it for her. And she couldn't find any material that she could buy and give to her kids to say, hey, look at this. So, because there wasn't any, she decided to make it. And that's why she assembled this team of people. So, who do we write for? We write for kids mainly, or kids at heart, or anyone who wants to take a light-hearted look at history. Light-hearted but serious, but a good look at history. And the way we do it is through storytelling. To us, storytelling is critical. Two of us on this team are in advertising, where you gotta tell a story in like 1 minute or less. One of us is a teacher, and I write songs for children. And you have to condense that information in a few minutes or less, which means you have to be very good at telling a compelling story really fast. And if you organize information in storytelling format, children are more likely to learn it, because it's not so much fact being shoved down your throat as it is a story that you want to know the end of. And that can make all the difference. And if you make it entertaining enough, adults will be engaged too, no question about it. Now, who should know their history and who should own their history? Everyone. History is for everyone. It's not just for the teacher in the classroom. It's not just to pass the test. It's not just for the historian. It is for every single person. So we wanted to make it accessible to everyone. Who are we? I'm sorry, the other slide passed by, but anyway, who are we? I'll just give you a background. As I said, 2 mothers, 2 people in advertising, 1 teacher. Not a single one of us a historian. None of us even majored in it in college. We just all share a love for the history and a need to share it. This means, of course, that we did a lot of research and got in touch with a whole bunch of historians to make sure that what we were saying was correct.
Also, payat pa kami.
Sorry?
Payat pa kami dyan sa illustration.
Also, we were thin here. We don't look like that now. That is true. That is true. So, but yeah, and that's why we did it. We're just people who love history and want to share it in a way that we believe will catch your attention. Next slide, please. So with that, we have written
3
books already. Okay. We have written 3 books already, and all of these books are written. We pick topics that fill in what we feel are gaps in the curriculum. For example, if you study history in school, more often than not, you will have maybe 1 chapter in prehistory and then about 5 on Spain, right? There just wasn't a lot available about our prehistory, which is, if you think about it, sad, because we had so much history before Spain came and discovered us. We were a functioning society. We had laws, we had government, we had trade. So the first book we wrote was called A Long Time Ago, and it deals with prehistory in the Philippines. The next book we wrote was called Kasaysayan, because again, this fills what we feel is a gap. We've always wondered, don't you wonder why your money is the way it is? What qualifies people to be on our money? And if you look into that, you're unraveling history through a different path. History of the country through our money. Who's on our money? Why are they there? What did they do? And in answering those questions, again, we were able to unravel a lot of history.
Also, our money is beautiful. We're award-winning.
We are award-winning.
Award-winning, yes.
We have award-winning money, in case you didn't know. And the third book, which is the one we're really going to be talking about tonight, which we're going to use as a model, is what we call an especial, a halo-halo especial, about Jose Rizal. Now, all these books focus on one particular thing, but no matter what the focus is, in studying it and in narrating it, we managed to run through all of our history from prehistory onwards, except, of course, for the Jose Rizal book, which is specifically about Jose Rizal. The Especial series is called the Especial series because it is a little bit thinner, a little bit more packed with graphics. It's in full color. And currently, it's tackling the question, SinoBaYani? In other words, what's behind our heroes? Now, this book is a different format from the other 2 because it's more of a visual feast. It really pops out. And it talks about Jose Rizal. Now, there's a lot of stuff out there about Jose Rizal, so it's not really filling in a curricular gap. But what this book does is, what we're trying to do here is we're trying to make Jose Rizal a little less hero and a little more human. We're trying to make him human and relatable to kids so that they understand that you can get from here to there. That Jose Rizal was once a child, was once a student, was once an average Pinoy. He was an average guy who found himself somehow thrust into greatness. And if we study how that happened, then we can teach kids that anyone can get from here to there if they have the heart for what they're doing, the intent, and are willing to work hard. And in this way, every time we write a book, we try to teach children all these things through the books we write. That's our philosophy in a nutshell. And we hope that after tonight, you'll understand a little bit better about how you might be able to do the same in your homes with your kids. So I'm going to turn it over to Michelline.
Next slide. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Okay, so Joonee covered already some of the question, but I'm going to ask it again. Why did we choose Rizal when there's so much written about him already? Well, yes, there is a wealth of material about Rizal, and there are more people who are more expert at the topic than we are. What we want to do is not to reveal new information, but to show a side, to present Rizal in a new way, in a way that a child can see himself, a teenager can see himself, a young adult can see himself as a friend. Could have been a friend of mine. He could have been, I see a part of me in Rizal. I share an interest with Rizal. To remove him from the pedestal and to bring him back to flesh and blood. Also to show kids that heroism is attainable. Heroism is not sainthood, although sometimes it is, but even saints are not perfect. Heroism just requires making choices for a greater good. And heroism is not for other people. Heroism resides in each and every one of us. And each child should aspire to be a hero in whatever sphere of influence he finds himself. So we wanted to show Jose Rizal through familiar pictures, familiar facts, but we present it in a different way. So for example, this montage of Rizal shows him as probably, if he were alive today, he would be a vlogger. He would use social media a lot because he was very fond of spending on photography. He used the power of words. It's easy to imagine what Jose Rizal would be doing if he were alive today in today's media. So this is how we wanted to bring Rizal to this generation in the language that they speak. Next slide, please. I think this is Ben's slide because he does the comics.
Hello. Hi, ako po yung illustrator ng book. And as you can see, we started out with comics, no? Because comics is familiar and it tells a story easily. That's always how we introduce. Oh, by the way, our mascot, our main guy is Tatang 𝘪𝑚𝑒𝑟. We chose 𝘪𝑚𝑒𝑟 because he looks wise enough. He has big, wise eyes. May bigote. May bigote ba talaga ang 𝘪𝑚𝑒𝑟? Then nilagay lang yata natin, no? Okay. Anyway, so there we have Tatang 𝘪𝑚𝑒𝑟 who's always consistent in all our 3 books. No, we have a lot of characters, but definitely for this one, we use Jose Rizal instead, and we use Tatang 𝘪𝑚𝑒𝑟 as our narrator. Okay. So throughout the book, ang dami naming we have a lot of ways to tell our story. It could be a slam book. It could be a collage of photos. It's just really fun. We wanted to make the journey in knowing our Jose Rizal really fun for everyone, not just kids. Actually, marami rin kaming adult readers, which is very flattering. No? When I did the comic, I told my partners, pwede ko bang ipa-burp si Jose Rizal? And they said, why not? So that's basically the essence, no? Parang tao rin naman si Jose Rizal eh. He's our hero, but he's also human like us. We wanted to humanize him, not just because, you know, to bring him down, definitely not, but for us to relate to this historical person who we all look up to, and realize that he has, you know, he has normal traits too. So
And
yes.
no, I was just gonna say, the other reason why we start with a comic, if you actually read the text, it could stand by itself as text, but it just looks a lot more fun and a lot less serious when you see all the visuals beside it. If you took the text by itself, it probably wouldn't be as engaging, but when you add all of Ben's wonderful little illustrations, then it becomes something that you really want to sit and read. That's all.
So I'll read this na lang para mas may participation ako. This book is about the boy before the hero happened, an awkward misfit who somehow found himself in a position of greatness. There is the story of Jose Rizal told the halo-halo way, with eye-popping visuals from beginning to end, making this multifaceted Filipino hero come alive for today's youth. Thank you. Next.
That's still you, Ben.
Oh, it's still me? Okay. Rizal was so much more. He was so interested in everything, and he did everything with such a passion. We are going to introduce in our book. I hope bumili kayo or manghiram kayo. Anyway, Rizal as a mystery man, as a doctor, as a builder, as a hero, as an artist, as an athlete. Grabe talaga. You'll find out a lot of things about Rizal and admire him for what he is so passionate about.
Yeah, can I add?
Yeah.
Yeah. So si Rizal po ay isang henyo. At why was he considered a genius? Dahil he was not only a polyglot, meaning he spoke several languages, ang dali niya makapick up ng language. He was a polymath, meaning he was very well knowledgeable in many different fields, science and art, and that's very rare in he's a Renaissance man in a post-Renaissance period, and later we'll find out how he did that and why he's recognized for his genius, not only in our country but around the world. So many countries around the world. Next.
Okay.
Next slide.
Okay. Next slide, please. We're gonna show you different, some parts of the book, kung paano namin ginawa yung per section. And it's going to be, this book is actually a nice companion to your, for example, homeschooling or field trips. Of course, pag hindi na quarantine, diba? It's a very good companion if you want to retrace Rizal's footsteps. And we're going to show you photos from, of course, thank you NPDC for these photos of Luneta and Rizal Park. Okay, so here, for example, in our book, papakita natin kasi yung mga pinagdaanan talaga ni Jose Rizal. Okay, and we actually have a part that retraces his steps. And here we have a photo of yung brass footprints ni Jose Rizal, which leads from his cell in Intramuros going to Bagong Bayan, dun sa execution site niya. So it's a nice thing to, you know, when you're teaching your children, you actually walk the course that Rizal walked. Okay. And next slide, please. And it's also interesting to know, and NPDC again gave us these wonderful photos of Luneta Park in the 1800s. Because before it was Rizal Park, it was Luneta. But before that, it was Bagong Bayan. So this was the Luneta Park that Rizal saw. If you look at the diba, that road, katabi pa niya yung Manila Bay. Wala pa ng reclaimed land. So it's very interesting to imagine this Luneta when Rizal was still alive. So, di ba? It used to be a marshland and it was and it became walkways and calzadas or the carriage drives, and a lot of the elite would go there in their carriages. So it's very interesting. And this is the Luneta that we know today. The dotted lines, that's the Luneta Park that we know today. And why is it Luneta? If you can see, it's part of the fort of Intramuros. Do you see that triangle part within the rectangle? Okay, that is called the lunette. Okay, so can you show the next slide? Lunetas are actually named after the crescent-shaped structure for defense used in fortifications in the 17th to 18th century. So a lot of mga colonies ng Spain during that time, they had this feature. So it's a persistent, if now forgotten, reminder of the military fortifications of the conqueror's citadel that it is adjacent to. So that's an interesting trivia for us also. Okay, so going back to the book. Okay, since our primary audience are children, we'd like to show Rizal na paano ba siya nung bata siya, di ba? So we made, in our minds, we made Rizal answer a slam book. So in one spread, you see, his nickname, his favorite food, his
May
school.
slam book ngayon, Divine. Ano yung...
May slam book pa rin. May nakita ko dati eh. Meron pa rin. Pero siguro iba na yung questions
Facebook
from
profile, maybe. Hindi ko alam.
Maybe. It's the same as your Facebook profile na siguro. Yeah. So here we see that Jose Rizal had a favorite book. He had a pet pony aside from a pet dog. He liked eating fish, rice, and fruits from their farm. We also packed in there his most embarrassing moments, funniest moments, and saddest moments because yung whatever happens in our childhood has a big effect on us as adults, the way we make decisions, our biases, and all that. And here in this spread, if you can see, there's a picture of Gomburza. Do you remember the three priests that were executed? Father Gomez, Burgos, and Zamora. That happened when Rizal was about 11 years old, and it had a profound effect on him. One of the priests was very close to his brother Pasiano. And again, we're connecting it to Luneta, because these three priests were also executed in Bagong Bayan, like Rizal. And makikita natin yung effect nung event na yun in Rizal's life. Kasi when he wrote 𝘓𝐵𝐵𝐿, he dedicated that book to the three priests. So before, Luneta was both, a leisure place and a killing field. Okay, Bagong Bayan Park gracefully hosted flirtations among the Manila elite, as well as callously witnessed the deaths of the disloyal citizenry. Okay, we can go to the next slide. Okay, so we move to we show examples of Rizal. We show Rizal's life while he was growing up, and here I'll turn you over to Michelline to talk about Rizal the schoolboy.
Sorry, I was on mute. One good thing about Rizal is that ever since early youth, he documented his life. He kept a diary. So that's why we have access to so many of his innermost thoughts, his fears, his joys, his observations. And it's really a fascinating look inside the mind of a young Rizal. So I encourage, I don't know when you were young, uso yung to keep a diary, and I hope young kids today still do that in whatever form they like to do it. You can write, you can put stickers, you can journal, you can blog, You can make short films. I don't know kung makakasya sa TikTok ang historical or your feelings. You can draw, you can paint. I just encourage your kids, encourage even you yourself starting at a certain age, start expressing, writing, documenting. Malay mo, hero ka one day. At least we can get a peek into your brain. So when we presented Rizal's young life, we took a lot of this is the part where we took a lot of creative license. We imagined how he would write in his slam book. We imagined, later on we'll show you his yearbook entry, and it's to show you that he was an ordinary boy who grew up in extraordinary times and made certain choices that determine not only his future, but our country's future. Next slide, please. So here's one example of our creative liberty. We imagined a college yearbook, and he's drawing himself, he's pointing to himself, along with his other classmates, something a typical college kid might do. Next slide, please. Okay, this one, a lot of people who write in their yearbooks will relate. So we just poked a little fun at our heroes, just so that people will catch a glimpse of how they were, how a human side of them. So si Jose Rizal was known as Kuripot. He spent a lot though on photographs, so that kind of tells you something about him, no? That he liked to save his allowance on
selective.
Selective, yeah. Yeah, kaya we have a lot of pictures of him compared to other heroes. Talagang pinagastosan niya yung mga photographs. Si Juan Luna, intense. Si Marcelo del Pilar, frenemy. So kids will say, oh, bakit frenemy? Matatawa sila, and they'll hopefully probe more. They didn't always get along. Even if they had the same goal for the country, they didn't always get along. Ito, on the right side, yon, mga wacky photos of Rizal with his friends.
Dati pa yan. Sila ang nagsimula ng wacky pose.
Oh, yon.
So it's nice to see them, goofing off, di ba?
Yeah.
And these guys became, heroes also, Luna, Marcelo del Pilar, they're well respected, and so we don't have to be perfect human beings to be able to create change. So that's, I guess that's also our reason for creating this page and showing this side of these heroes.
Tignan mo yung drama club, feel ni Jose Rizal yung kanyang role, di ba?
And also I guess to show that they had lives, like well-rounded lives, that they had fun,
Imagine mo kasi they were abroad, away from their families, away from conservative Philippines, in France. My gosh, hindi ka ba magwawala ng konti doon? Di ba?
Oh, in Madrid, in France, nag-travel sila. Tama ka. Pagiging well-rounded, aside from their studies, they do art, di ba? They have sports, fencing.
Pero notice, yung gusto ko lang i-point out dito sa mga kids and sa parents of kids is yung barkada na pinili ni Jose Rizal. Yes. So he also chose friends that strove for excellence while being normal young men. Kasi pag malayo ka na sa family mo, if you're in another country, your friends become your family na di ba? So kung sinong pipiliin mo, yan yung mag-i-influence sa'yo. So your friends have a part in shaping you and reinforcing your good and bad choices. This is something all generations, it's true, especially when you're no longer cocooned in your family environment. So yes, he was a normal kid, normal college kid, had fun, but he chose friends. He chose excellent friends. So that's something I think we want to point out, aside from how human he was, how normal he was, how important it is to surround yourself with like-minded and people who strive for excellence.
And
Next
who
slide.
want to have fun also.
Sorry. Who have fun also. Correct. So in this spread, we wanted to show how well-traveled Jose Rizal was. So we did it in postcards. Postcards, kunyari, galing, nasa Madrid siya, he's sending a postcard from Madrid, nasa Berlin.
May mga hashtag pa, no?
Oh,
so we really use modern styles para the kids can relate, no? Mga hashtag, ganyan.
Kasi I mean, we read about this in textbooks already that he went here, he went there, but if you see it presented this way, mas attractive to your eye, mas ma-intrigue ka sa kwento. So how well-traveled he was in 5 years before air travel was invented. He'd been all over Europe, parts of Asia, not just as a tourist though. He enjoyed the sights, the culture, and the food, but he was also absorbing and observing how other countries govern themselves. He was observing the culture of the places that he visited and learning principles of statehood. This is something about travel, especially to Europe, the old world. It puts you face to face with history. You're standing on Roman ruins. You're standing where Emperor Constantine was, the kings and queens. You can't help but absorb it and appreciate it all the more. And sana when we travel, we do this. We don't just go to Disneyland or the amusement park or shopping, but we make it a point also to learn about the place that we visit, to learn what makes it special, what makes it different. I think that's a great learning opportunity for us who have families who are able to travel. Travel has the capacity to change us, not just entertain us. And
si Rizal
that's
din
what
kasi was sent there, di ba, for a mission by his brother.
yes.
He really loved traveling, pero assignment niya yun eh. Take in what you can learn and then perhaps that can be adapted to the Philippines, di ba, when they were what they wanted to yeah, that's it.
So very purposeful siya. He was very purposeful. So something to keep in mind when we are finally able to travel again, when we are lucky enough to be able to take our kids, our families, let's open our eyes to the uniqueness of the place we visit and make it a point to learn about the history of the place and see how to relate what in our history connects with this place. Because of Rizal, we'll find a lot of places around the world are connected to our history. Next slide, please. So this is an example of, in this little town, I was lucky enough to go there 2 years ago, Heidelberg in Germany. When you go there, it's like you step back in time 100 years. It's a small university town, very romantic, very quaint. You can imagine Rizal walking the streets. I think the dorm house or he's still there. It's now a bookshop. So they don't tear down their old places. They repurpose them. So that's why you can visit where Rizal used to live, where he used to work in Heidelberg. It's really full of history and romance, the town. And they have because he spent 1.5 years there, I think. And he made friends there. He studied there. The town actually honored him with a fountain.
Can you imagine, no? 1.5 years lang siya, may fountain na siya sa...
Oo nga, di ba?
I think kinuha nila yung fountain na yan from the house of the person he stayed with.
So yun, originally stood in Wilhelmsfield Village. Yun.
Yes, yun. Yeah. Tapos so that's an actual fountain na nakainom si dyan, si Jose Rizal. Nahawakan niya yan.
Okay, relic ni Jose
Relic
Rizal.
siya.
So yung maganda doon is, Rizal made friends, and he made friends that were very fond of him, and he left a mark. Hindi lang siya dumaan doon or nakatira doon or nanira doon. He really he left his mark on it. When he was in Germany, he wrote he would write letters to home a lot, and he would describe that he admired the discipline of the German people, especially the women, because they were very serious, and he compared them to he wished that the Filipino women would not be as concerned about their fashion or their appearance, and really undertake studies to be and be serious like the German women that he admired. He also wrote a poem to the flowers of Heidelberg. That's how much he liked it there. And yeah, he celebrated his 25th birthday there. So he was quite young when he went there, no? But again, you grow up fast in those days. So maybe 25 is like 35 now. And Heidelberg, the people of Heidelberg honor the memory of a man of letters and science who, with, this is what it says in the plaza, who with courage and generosity and brotherhood struggled until death for the moral and intellectual advancement of his people. So, and they still celebrate Jose Rizal's birthday there. So isn't that amazing? In a little town tucked away in Germany somewhere, they celebrate our hero. He's also a part. They own him also. They have ownership over him. Next slide, please. Okay, this is the Japanese garden and Ōsei-san mural in Rizal Park.
That's a brand new mural.
It's maganda. I haven't seen this in person.
Very new mural.
Yeah. Yes. So what Rizal, as probably we all know, he spent a month and a half, 6 weeks in Japan in 1888. And in those 6 weeks, wow, what did he do? Well, he wrote home about how he was impressed by the discipline, cleanliness, and honesty of the people, which I think even if the travelers today, that's the common observation, it really struck him. He was often mistaken for a Japanese, and he was frustrated because he could not speak the language. So guess what? In those 6 weeks, he learned enough Japanese and filled a notebook with practice writing. He could order food. The notebook had sketches. So productive, no? So in a letter to his family, he left some prophetic words. He said, "I have stayed here much longer than I intended, for the country seems to me very interesting, and because in the future we shall have much to do and deal with Japan." So a bit of a prophecy there, that he could tell that our futures would be intertwined somehow. And aside from learning the language and writing home and filling his notebook with drawings, he also met Ōsei-san, who the mural portrays, and he fell deeply in love with her. She was his translator, teacher, and guide. And had he chosen to stay with this woman who he describes as one of the great loves, our history would have been very different. But his sense of mission overcame his love for her. So in the end, love for country overcame any desires, the strong desires he had to remain in Japan. So that's a beautiful garden you can visit the next time you're in Rizal Park.
You'll learn about the other loves of Rizal in our book. Okay, so we talk about his love life also. So.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Paano yung format natin doon? Twitter ba?
Yeah,
Instagram, Twitter.
There's a double spread devoted to his girlfriends.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because Rizal was crush ng bayan.
Yes, and he was in love with love. He loved love. Kaya kung saan siya pumunta, may minahal siya. Pero yung pinakamahal niya yung country natin. Buti na lang. Di ba?
Yeah.
Here's
So
here's a double spread. Whoops, I cannot be seen
can
pala.
you
Yeah,
see?
you're
Okay,
disappearing.
I'm disappearing. Oh
Yeah, you
no.
have to remove your background.
Oh, never mind. Okay.
Never
There.
mind.
there. Okay. This slide naman, okay, we're showing Rizal. This is one of Ben's, you'll see two of Ben's really delightful drawings. Rizal as a doctor and Rizal the artist. So as I mentioned in the earlier part of the talk, JR for short. JR was a polymath. He was learned in many subjects and having a broad range of expertise. So he painted, he sketched, he made sculptures, he carved wood, he became a doctor pa. My gosh, at what, how many years people study just one profession and he did them all and was good at it, right? Again, he specialized in ophthalmology, so he could help his mother, whose eyesight was failing because of cataracts. And again, he chose this profession out of love, in a way. On the right side, are some delightful illustrations by Rizal. He illustrated the monkey, the tortoise and the monkey. It's children's fairy tale. So he tried his hand at illustrating a children's tale, and then this sculpture is called the Mother's Revenge. So a mother dog. That's a crocodile ba? Diba?
Yes.
What is that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
yun, si Rizal talagang whether painting, sketching, sculpture, kayang-kaya niya. All around siya na artist. And his illustration of the Filipino folktale na The Tortoise and the Monkey was considered a first in Philippine children's literature. So this actually made him like the pioneer or father of Filipino children's literature.
Yes.
So that's another contribution of Jose Rizal. And ang dami niyang sculptures. When he was young, palang a student in Ateneo, meron na siyang sculpture of si Jesus, which I think is still in Ateneo, if I'm not mistaken. I'll check on that. But this one, this particular sculpture of the dog and the crocodile has an interesting story. You see the crocodile with a puppy in his mouth, and that's the mom. Kaya Mother's Revenge, kasi totoo yan na while he was in the Pitan and teaching his students, habang naglalakad sila, may nakita sila na crocodile na kinain yung puppy, and he felt so sad about that. So gumawa siya ng sculpture na parang iginanti niya yung mother na dog. So that's how that sculpture came to be.
Ang ganda, no? He really captured the tension of in the body of the animal. I think, you know, he even though it was just one of his many talents, he was so good at it.
Galing ng sculptures niya, ang galing ng paintings niya.
Yeah, the detail on his sculptures, ang galing ng
Yeah.
anatomy. Siguro nakatulong that he
Yeah.
was a doctor and he studied that.
Yeah. Next slide. Oh, are we in the next slide?
Yeah,
Next slide. Okay. So here is Rizal as a writer. It is usually depicted in his overcoat, and he's holding a quill in his hand. As a writer, of course, we all studied his works in high school. But one of the things we want to highlight in this talk is how he debunked fake news early on in our history. So yung fake news, hindi bago yun. The Sucesos de las Islas Filipinas described the Philippines from the colonizer's point of view. So it wasn't very flattering. So what he did was he annotated it. For example, here 𝘠𝘠𝘠𝘠, the author of the book, is describing the food, and he describes it as kind of stinky, fermented, and started to rot. And Rizal debunks it by saying, you know, from your point of view, it's just it's unfamiliar to you, but if you're not accustomed to it, di mo type, you'll consider it gross. I think that's typical, di ba? Typical also of, well, even people
Yeah,
who,
anything unknown to us, di ba?
yeah,
Kunyari, first time makita ng mga tao sa France na kumakain ng snails. Di ba? Yak,
yeah,
pinipinat ko lang yan sa bakuran eh. Pero sa kanila, escargot. Di ba?
yes,
So it's just,
yes, yes,
ganon, it's just written in another point of view. So I'm gonna quote
yes,
Professor Xiao here, di ba? You have to put it in perspective. Of course, 𝘕𝑗 wrote it in his perspective na totally unaware siya of the customs, the traditions of the inhabitants of the islands prior to their arrival. So it's just his personal observation. It doesn't make him correct. So Rizal is attempting to correct him through his annotations of 𝘕𝑗's work.
okay. Yes, so so we recognize here how he was very talented, not only in writing his novels but also in essays, historical opinion. Even his letters are considered history because of all the detail he put into them. So whether it's fake news or eloquent, whether debunking fake news or using his speech eloquently, he wrote mostly in Spanish and some Tagalog. And this Jose Rizal as a writer is probably how we highlight his talents the most, because his words really changed our history. The power of the words beyond the written page was best exemplified by his skill as a writer. So saying that the pen is mightier than the sword never applied to anyone better than Jose Rizal. Yes, when we were back in high school, maybe we didn't appreciate it as much because we had to read it. But now we have a better appreciation seeing our country evolve. If one rereads the 𝘂𝐵 and the 𝑓𝐿𝐵, can we go to the next slide? Yeah, there. If one rereads the 𝘂𝐵 and the 𝑓𝐿𝐵, oh, sorry, back. You were on the right slide. Sorry, Meg. Back to 𝘂𝐵 and 𝑓𝐿𝐵. Slide 25. Oops. Anyway, while we're getting there, so
The
if
slide
one
before, please.
there, that's the one. Yeah.
Oops.
If one rereads the 𝘂𝐵 and 𝑓𝐿𝐵 and replaces,
Thank you.
and replaces some of the characters with persons who are alive today in our headlines, the story would still apply. So, Jose Rizal is not officially our national hero. And perhaps there are even theories that he was promoted by the Americans to be our national hero because he wasn't an outright revolutionary who took up the sword. Some would prefer more radical figures to be given the honor that we give to Rizal. There's no denying that because of the legacy he left, he did not only have prophetic influence over his specific place and time, but also our present and perhaps also our future. Moreover, not only in the Philippines, humanity around the world has benefited from his legacy. So no wonder he's an icon. He's larger than life and captures the imagination like no other figure in history. We have a page in our book, actually, Rizal the Icon, dedicated to that, and it shows how he's portrayed in matches, in our money, in various iterations of our money, in movies, even on soft drinks. For all his many talents, his mightiest skill was a writer. And the characters were drawn from real life. That's why they provoked so much outrage. Medyo na guilty yung mga nagbasa ng 𝘂𝐵 na they recognize themselves, and nobody likes the emperor's new clothes, diba? Nobody likes to be exposed, even in fiction. Every episode can be repeated on any day in the Philippines. The core of his writing centers on liberal and progressive ideas of individual rights and freedom, specifically rights for the Filipino people. Next slide, please. This is Ben's slide. Ben, turning over to you.
Hello. So Rizal was exiled, as we know, or maybe you don't know, was he was exiled in Dapitan, which is very much like what we are in now, our situation. No? Medyo
He was
naka-lockdown siya.
quarantined. He was quarantined and locked down in Dapitan
Quarantine.
for 2
But that
years.
did not stop him from being productive. Ang dami niyang ginawa. He built so much things. He learned so much things. Maybe it could be a good lesson for us while we're complaining that we're here in the house doing nothing. Maybe we can be productive ourselves. You can see, may dapitan checklist tayo. He built houses, a swimming pool. Sino mo nakagawa ng swimming pool ngayong quarantine? An aqueduct, a fountain. He started a farm. So, siya yung original plantito.
Yeah.
He made sculpture, drew so many sketches. He drew a lot of fish, actually.
Diba he even discovered a species of insect? Diba?
Yeah, no?
Diba? Or lizard.
A
Yeah,
lizard
was
and a
there.
bug.
Yeah, medyo superhuman yung dating niya no, sa dapitan.
He discovered new plants nga and animal species. He wrote letters to friends. I guess yan yung kanyang social media dati. No? He treated patients while he was there. He opened a non-traditional school.
Yeah, he tutored.
Nag-Zoom webinar siya. He made a relief map of Mindanao. He actually spent some time with Josephine Bracken. There, ang dami niyang
Very
ginawa.
productive 2 years.
And we just put the lotto ticket in there to be cute, right?
Yes.
And it's important because with the winnings of that lottery ticket, he was able to buy land and he converted it into a farm.
So he did win the lotto.
Yes. And then some of the money he sent
Hindi
to
lang
his
siya
parents.
bayani. Hindi lang siya bayani, swerte pa. My God.
Lucky
Oo.
pa.
Well,
Hindi lang
lucky
siya
betting na lang.
multi-talented, swerte pa. Ay, nako.
Oo.
Let this be an example for you guys. If you're bored at home, ang dami yung pwedeng gawin.
Make your own checklist, your quarantine checklist. Ano na yung mga nagawa nyo? Ube cheese
Ube
pandesal,
pandesal,
dalgona
sushi
coffee,
bake.
sushi bake, cinnamon rolls,
Hindi nakasama
broken
TikTok dyan.
Nagtanim ng vegetables, ng gulay.
Oo.
Choreograph ng sariling TikTok dance.
Oo nga. Nag-open ng TikTok. Yeah,
Sige.
madami. Let's be productive and maybe some of your writings will end up in history because, you know, it might create change, di ba, for the Philippines.
Maging viral. Baka maging viral yung post mo, yung TikTok mo.
Wag yung ibang viral Viral na.
Okay, we don't only talk about the, you know, fun stuff. We also have we also treat his death seriously, you know. Kasi ito yung pinaka-importanting nangyari eh. It might not have been the ano yung sinabi ni Professor Shaw sa talk niya, Michelline, it could be like the straw that broke the camel's back, di ba? Sinasabi kasi in history na ito daw yung start ng revolution. Hindi, ang dami nang namumuong mga grupo prior to his death. But you know, but when he was killed, doon parang lalong nagalit yung mga tao. And this photo was contested before kasi madaming lumalabas na hindi daw totoo, baka daw it was a movie from before. Pero sabi ni historian Ambeth Ocampo, kung merong aso, yun kasi may storya talaga about Rizal's death, that when he died, there was a dog that ran around his body, and we see a dog in this photo, and so ito yun.
Also, you know, if you've been to Luneta, di ba?
There's a dog statue. Yes.
Yeah.
Because it was really part of the story.
Hanapin nyo next time.
So yun yung Luneta before. And then another slide.
Imagine public park yun. So if we go to Luneta now, you can watch an execution. It's kind of
hindi na pwede ngayon yun, di ba?
Oo. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so but imagine if during Rizal's time when he wrote Noli and Fili, imagine kung how on fire social media would be with all the bashers and the defenders. Diba? Ang saya nun. Okay, so this next photo that you're seeing is Paco Cemetery. dito kasi after his death, he was brought to an unmarked grave. So Rizal's sister had to look for a fresh grave in all of the cemeteries near Luneta. And then nakita niya dun sa Paco Cemetery, merong freshly turned earth, and that's the only place na meron. So he talked to the guard to say, to the caretaker, please put a marker so I know kung saan ko babalikan. And she asked him to mark it with RPJ. Kabaliktaran lang ng initials ni Rizal. Siguro, I don't know, para hindi masyadong obvious dun sa mga Spanish guards who were guarding the cemetery then. But
baka ano siya, dyslexic, di ba?
No. So anyway, just a few days ago, we commemorated the anniversary when his bones were exhumed from Paco Cemetery and brought to his house in Binondo. So he wasn't brought to Luneta, and walang monument noon to be buried, no. So his body was brought to Paco Cemetery, and then it was exhumed on August 17 after I think 2 years. Tama ba, Jez? Am I correct? And then it was brought to Binondo. And then years later, nung tinayo na yung monument, that's where they put the urn of Jose Rizal. So this is just additional trivia.
What just
1912. Right, the following year was when it was officially inaugurated. 1913, December 30.
Inaugurated? Which one? The monument?
Sorry, natapos yung monument, 1913.
1913. Oh, okay. Oh, we have interesting photos of the monument also. We have trivia on that. Okay, Ju, would you like to take us through?
Yes. His statue. Yes, because at the back of this book, we do have a few pages that suggest things that kids can do if they want to look further into their study of Jose Rizal. And one of them is this page called Is Statue Jose, which of course takes a look at the different monuments and statues dedicated to Jose Rizal, not just here, but around the world. And we have a little checklist there so that the kids can check off the ones they've seen either in person or nowadays virtually under virtual scavenger hunt. A little Googling can probably find you all these. It might make a nice activity actually for the moms who are now homeschooling to do an online scavenger hunt to find images of all these monuments. There are a lot.
Right.
Yeah, it might also open the eyes of the kids to wow, Jose Rizal, and daming statue in other countries.
Yeah.
You know, even in Alaska, there is one.
And it will also prompt the question, why? Why is there a Rizal statue in Alaska? Why is there one in Japan? Why are there many things in Germany? And that answering that why is going to lead you to a whole bunch of other information, which is, of course, part of the goal of the book, to get you to look further. Not because you're made to, but because you're interested in what happens next. And this goes back to the title of the talk, which is how to bring it to a new generation of heroes. This is one way. There are a lot of ways that you can use in order to further this study, not just read the book, but take it further. This might also prompt you to look at other books on Rizal's life or to talk to people. We did a lot of interviewing and a lot of speaking to other people to find out more. And we are hoping that one of the things the book can do is serve as a springboard for further study. Next slide, please. We also want to, while we're waiting for the next slide, again, the other thing that we try to do in this book that we encourage teachers and parents to do is to humanize other heroes or whomever figures they're studying, be they heroes or scientists or athletes or artists, to find the human in them, to make that connection with them on a human level, on an average person level, so that they become more accessible to the child. Now, over here, here are the pictures of the Motostela, the Rizal Monument, which won a second place in an international competition. I do not have the name of the competition. Do any of you guys have it? Because that'd be interesting to know. Uh, and Motostella is Latin for guiding star. So that's what that means. The Motostella, once quarantine is over, you can actually go visit. We all know where it is out there, in Luneta, in Rizal Park, sa may bandang Rojas
Yes, do you
Boulevard.
have anything to add about Motostella?
They might be asking, bakit second prize yung nanalo? The winning design was called 𝘓𝘪𝘴𝘵 𝐷𝘪𝘥𝘦𝘆. It was very ornate. But ang sabi, according to historical records, the artist wasn't able to pay the bond or something, or could be too expensive to create. So, of course, if Miss Universe cannot fulfill its role, the second place will automatically become Miss Universe. So Motostella, the design won, and it's a beautiful design nonetheless. It has allegorical figures around it.
Yeah.
It's the one in Madrid.
So nice.
The one in Madrid looks exactly like this.
Really?
Is that my picture?
China
oh yeah,
also.
there.
China also.
There. Yeah.
As a monument that looks like that.
Hmm.
Yeah. And yeah, so as I was saying, for parents and for teachers, get them to look at their heroes in a more human way. There's something about it's like when we follow celebrities and we like seeing pictures of their homes. We like their house tour, their closet tour. We want to know what kind of food they eat. It's because we want to know what they're like behind the scenes. And it's the same with heroes and anyone else that we study or we follow. We want to know what things relate them to us. So instead of looking at them as perfect humans, look at them as inspirational figures, guiding figures. There's this terrible cancel culture going around now, where every time a celebrity or someone perceived to be perfect is found to make a mistake, everyone cancels everything they've done. That to us might be a little bit harmful, because there is no one on earth who does not have some kind of thing that they're not proud of, or thing that they have not done, and we cannot cancel everything they've done on the basis of one mistake. Of course, that's a whole other story. And here are other things. This is also in our book. We have a page called Heroing 101, which encourages them to be heroes in everyday ways. Often when we think of heroics, we think of people who had to die, right? But if you remember, of course, our superheroes. Rizal was executed in the end, but remember, one of the most heroic things he did was just to write a book. Okay, and everyone can write. Okay, so and here are some other things. Use your talents and skills to uplift others. Speak up when you know something is wrong, and this could be as basic as in preschool. If you see someone bullying someone else, or if you see a wrong, stand up to it. Okay.
Yeah, speak up also, like, there's so much fake news going around in Viber about about the virus, about the political situation. Just to respectfully fact check and correct with respect, and not pass it on. Yeah.
We had written this book before the whole fake news thing became such a thing. If we had written it now, we'd probably add verify your facts, be knowledgeable, don't just spread. Be responsible about what you say, and be responsible about what you quote, not just the first thing.
As Rizal has shown us, words have power. So you want to use your words, the power of your words, in a responsible way.
Yeah, and then of course also know your country's history. We talked to a lot of people to make sure that all our facts were verified and correct. It's Michelline and Divine who did bulk of that talking. You want to run us through some of the people you felt were primary sources? Because someone did ask also in the Q&A, if we're not historians, because I've been reading the Q&A, if we're not historians, who did we tap? Where did we get our sources? You want to talk about a little bit about the most primary ones, Michelline, in passing?
Oh, Divine, did you want? Well, we attended lectures of 𝐓𝐿𝐶HUA, John Ray, and we also asked them to please take a look at what we put down before we published it. We also attended lectures of Ambeth, and Divine did a lot of
We
Yes.
read his books. We read the books by the relative of Jose Rizal, who
Yes.
did his biography, Lolo Jose. So,
Yes.
yun, madaming sources. So, actually, it took us a lot, many months. We thought this would be an easy book because of all the wealth of information. Pero dahil ang dami-dami niya, natagalan kami choosing what to include in this special book because we only have a few pages and we want to fill it with graphics and not just facts in text format because we wanted the children to really be interested in the life of this extraordinary human being, diba? So matagal naming ni-research at nag-verify kami with historians and professors, and syempre hindi naman perfect siguro, no, but we appreciate the feedback that we get even from our for our previous for our book 1 and 2, di ba, Alolong and Kasaysayan, and we always
Okay.
update when new information is available.
And when
Yeah.
printing is available, reprinting.
Yeah.
So, just to say, and to promote our other books, the prehistory took such a long time. How long was that?
3.5 years before we got published.
Yes, can you imagine
Yeah.
all the research we did for that,
Yeah.
no?
We had to go to the UP College of Archaeology and look at their papers in-house. So these are not easily available in bookstores. It's a very esoteric topic. Yung talagang hahanapin mo yung sources. We interview the writers of books on prehistory. There's not much kasi out there, kaya na nga prehistory, wala pang nasulatan, di ba? So a lot of them are educated guesses based on artifacts. And some people have different opinions on um, on this. There are basically no primary sources for prehistory. That's why it took such a long time. And like Joonee mentioned earlier, it's given such a short attention in typical textbooks because it's not easy to find material on it.
And that's another thing that you might want to take out. Again, I'm always gonna be talking to the homeschool moms and the teachers because I'm a teacher, so it goes there. That's another thing you might want to consider. If you have more than one kid, you might want to make a little project out of Rizal or any other topic, the way that we do our books. I forgot to mention a while ago, it takes a village for us. You know, Michelline is our principal researcher. She does bulk of the research for our books, except for Rizal, which was
For this
divided
book is
equally
divine.
between
Yeah.
Divine and Michelline. Yeah, it was Divine. And then it gets passed on to me. My job is to make it sound kid friendly. And then it's passed on to Ben, who makes all the illustrations. It's
Which
also
we
passed
can,
on to Divine, who, yeah, and Divine adds a little more of the humor. And sorry,
which
yes, Ben, go ahead.
we can go to stand up to bullying because all these three writers bully me into drawing really fast kasi yung deadlines namin sobrang ubos na dun sa research. So, please stand up to bullies, guys.
That is true, but
Binubuli
but
kami ni Meg. Turuan eh.
and then so
Last,
next slide, please. So there are some other ideas that we give in the book that we would also like to share with you now. One of the great things about now is you can have kids start journals chronicling their lives. Every famous person in history has had their journals exposed to the public a long time after they're gone. And it's always so interesting to find out what got them there, how they grew up. What might be boring to you now, 100 years from now, may be very interesting to someone. 100 years from now, a kid somewhere's going to go, oh my gosh, they were just at home for almost a year and they did this and they did that. Who knows, right? Now would be a good time to start chronicling your life. I mean, we've all got time, right? You could do life during the quarantine or life with distance learning. Who knew that this school year we would all be sitting in front of screens instead of in a classroom, for example? That might never happen again. Who knows? Um, and it's also good to do things like, especially now because it's quarantine, how are all the different countries treating their quarantine? It would be a good time to get in touch with friends from all around the world if you have them, to see what's happening there. Another thing you might want to do is you might want to cross-reference. Rizal was a sculptor, among other things. You could do a thing about how many of the things Rizal did could you do. Let's try a little botany. Let's try a little sculpture. Let's try a little writing. Let's be Rizal and let's do all these things. You can employ as many devices as you can. Make your own quarantine checklist. And these things can cross over into other subjects. Be a scientist in training. Start exploring your yard. What insects can you find? Study leaves, just like what Rizal did. So you're still on the subject of Rizal, but you're also cross-referencing to other subjects, which is always a great way to learn. If you learn like this instead of like that, right? Virtual travels. Where would you want to go once the pandemic is over? Is there a Rizal statue on the checklist in that place? Where is it? Let's find out. Make your own slam book for your heroes. Or if a slam book is not such, if the slam book is too alien a concept to your child, make your own Facebook page for your hero. If you were, for example, if you were, for example, I'm going to pick another hero. If you were Andres Bonifacio, what would your Facebook page look like? Right? For example, or who would your Twitter friends be? It would be an interesting exercise also to see. And it would force you to look at who was friends with who didn't like whom. For example, would Emilio Aguinaldo accept Andres Bonifacio's friend request? Would he? We don't know. But it's an interesting thing to play with. And in this way, you get to really look at the lives of all these people in our history in a very human way. They're not just up there somewhere where we kind of have to revere them. They were humans once, and it's always fun and good to find the humanity in a person. And these are a variety of ways that you can now engage your kids in a livelier discussion of history. At the end of the day, it boils down to our philosophy to make it interesting, to make it engaging, and to focus on story. And to make a relation, to correlate, no, to make a connection between us and the subject we are studying. What do we have in common? How did we get from there to here? What happened? How do we continue it? After all, in order to make history, we have to know what came before so that we can contribute to what comes after. And now let's take a look at this last slide. These are quotes that this is
Our favorite quotes.
Quotes.
Yeah, these are our favorite Rizal quotes. So maybe I turn over to
Michelline
Divine. Yeah.
Me? Okay. So we all have our favorite quotes of Rizal, famous lines. We chose 3 that we felt we all agreed were some of his most relevant, especially today. I want to without education and liberty, no reform is possible, no measure can give the result desired. This for me, I would so want the next generation, and it looks like it's happening, to really look into our country's history, to understand, to see our heroes, the decisions they made, the events that unfolded as not just things to memorize for a test, but things to help us understand why we are the way we are and how we can move forward. How can we not repeat our mistakes? One thing I found so interesting was when I was lucky enough to travel to Madrid, I retraced the footsteps of Rizal. Do you know that in the hotel where he stayed, the manager will tell you all about Rizal's stay there, how he would hang out there with a Spanish woman, how he would hang out in that hotel with his buddies and have a few drinks. There's a plaque on the wall. You walk around, you see markers of Rizal stayed here. And this is from a country that considered him his enemy. Yet the ordinary people are aware of this man's contribution. So I find that so interesting that um, that other countries would know about so much about our history, and for that alone, we should appreciate it more. He who would love much has also much to suffer. When we know how to sacrifice ourselves for our duties and conviction, death does not matter if one dies for those one loves, for his country and for others dear to him. What a running thread throughout Rizal's life is Rizal was a lover, whether it was a woman, an art form, the written word, but primarily his love was for his country. He really, really wanted a better future for his country, and he directed his pursuits towards that. So I think it's a good reminder to us to love something bigger than our own interests, to think, to dream big for our country, not just on what things affect our daily lives, but for what will affect our future generations, our children, the next generation. We can see that in so many OFWs who suffer because they want their children to have a better future. We really, suffering for love is really the most a common thing that we all understand. Anyone who's ever loved someone will understand that you suffer for love. And sana we can take it to the next level and love our country, love our people, so that when we can do a little in little ways, we can suffer, whether it's obeying the laws, paying taxes, doing what we can, picking up garbage. Even if we didn't throw the garbage, we pick it up. You know, so those are little ways in which we show love. Finally, I can yes. Do you want to talk about the last quote, Divine? I think you
Pwede.
particularly like that. Yeah.
We can also, well, Rizal also had a lot of quotes about education. He really wanted to focus on education. That's why we also chose that quote. And then for the third one, di ba si Rizal, ang dami niyang controversial na sinulat eh. Kaya nga galit sa kanya gobyerno, galit sa kanya tao. It was very controversial. This one, we chose this because parang, do you feel that if it's still relevant now? This is what he said. I can concede that the government has no knowledge of the people, but I believe the people know less of the government. There are useless officials, evil if you like, but there are also good ones, and these are not able to accomplish anything because they encounter an inert mass, the population that takes little part in matters that concern them. So this was written when Spain we were under Spain. But I wonder if it's still true now. So Rizal is also faulting the people for not, taking part in matters that concern them. So siguro we all have to do our part, diba? This is not a perfect world. It's not a perfect, it's not a perfect society. We're very young, diba? Kailan lang tayo naging totally independent. So we're still figuring things out. But as citizens, I feel that we really have to do our parts as well. So we moving to the
Kumbaga
next.
parang teenager pa lang tayo or young adult. We're still making our mistakes.
Other governments, compared to other countries.
Yes.
So can we go to the next slide, which is
and
wraps up, diba, Ju?
which wraps up everything. Yes. Okay. So another Rizal quote. In order to read the destiny of a people, it is necessary to open the book of its past. We need to know our history to be able to make our history. And we've got some books of our past. We've got 3 of them now available at tahananbooks.ph. Did I get the website right? Yes. A long time ago, 𝐓𝐞𝐚𝐜𝐡𝐢𝐧𝐠 and SinoBaYani Rizal. The first 2 retail at 225. Rizal retails at $295, and there is a special bundle price of $695 for all 3 books, which you can get right now at tahananbooks.ph.
Can we go to the next slide?
Next slide, please. Yeah. The
Para
other thing there you go. Oh, nandyan pala. Yes, so you can follow us on social at Tahanan Books and at Halo Histories. We are on Facebook and Instagram. We do put out content every now and then, especially around national holidays or significant times, where we add little snippets of history, little cartoons, little things that might interest you. So if you follow us there, you will see this content as it comes up, and you will also get information about upcoming Halo Halo Histories releases. Next slide, please. And final slide, actually. Second to final slide. We won our first award.
Madami pa
Best
yan.
Reads for
Madami pa tayong
2016
slides.
at the National. Oh, sorry. You're right. You're right. We do.
Our benta
This is
slides.
our benta slide and our bragging wall. This is our first award. It won a long time ago. Won Best Reads for 2016-2017 at the National Children's Book Award. We have no idea if 𝐲𝐲𝐾𝐚𝐜𝐻 would have won, as the National Children's Book Award was postponed, I believe, due to the pandemic. Next slide, please. And this is the other thing we do. We do visit schools and conduct something that we like to call Halo Halubilo, where we will talk to children about history or about writing books. We visited several schools, and right now we're doing it online. So if you are a parent or with a school, or if you are part of a homeschool cell group and you would like a Halo Halubilo even online, do get in touch with Nahanan Books, and we'll see if we can make that happen for you. We always like talking to young readers. They give us a lot of insight, and they very often also will tell us what they want to see in the next book. So it's always nice to talk to them. Next slide, please. Is there a next slide? Yes. Oh,
Yes.
there. Here are examples of the things we put out on our social. This is our last round. We did this once a week. What's your quarantine personality? And I wonder how many of these guys you can name. Of course, there's Rizal, drawing, sculpting, painting, and all. I wonder if you can name all the others. If there are kids watching, can you name all the others? Do you know who they are? Pero makikita nyo yung mga characteristics na in-assign namin sa kanila: patient, productive, prayerful, proactive. And then here's the other. Here's more of our socials. We did this all for the pandemic. There's a very short history of Philippine masks. It's not comprehensive. It was meant to make you laugh. There is a Filipino courtship one, which shows you how to social distance even when you're nangliligaw. There is a little bit of information about how the flu pandemic killed 80,000 Filipinos. So we're hoping that doesn't happen again. And the last slide is actually my favorite of this series: no contact delivery. We were the original no contact delivery because a long time before the Spanish discovered us, we would trade in this way. The traders from China would put everything on down, and then they'd leave, respectful distance, and then we would come and barter. So we were doing no contact delivery and barter trade long before the quarantine. Just so you know, just say it. And this is our media wall. This is us represented at the book fair. This is us in the paper. This is our bragging wall.
Us with celebrities.
I haven't even seen this one. This one's new.
Kasi nagulat ka dito. Bagong-bago to.
Nagulat ako. Okay. So, yeah. This is our book in the hands of people you might know. And here is our manifesto. Education is a revolution for our children and our nation's children, that in looking back, they might understand the present and create a brighter future. Let's make history, and let's be heroic every day.
That's it. Thank you.
I believe that is it. That is everything
Wonderful.
we have to say.
Are you guys ready for some Q&A?
Yeah, I've been answering some of them in the
Joonee is ready.
Yeah, you have been answering.
I answered the ones I could. Okay, I answered the ones I could. Go ahead.
Okay,
I answered a few also.
Ayan. So this one is from Miss Mara Salvador, who has personally met Mariang Sinukuan. Are you familiar with that? In Mount Arayat. So I am still in awe. It is a community of people worshiping Jose Rizal.
The
For them,
Rizalistas?
Rizalistas. For them, Rizal is immortal and very much alive. do you have any materials regarding Rizal and Mariang Sinukuan?
We have a section in our book about groups that revere Jose Rizal. So we did cover that as well.
Because there's more than one.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
may nagkwento sa amin na Jez na pati sa Japan, there's this Filipino tourist who went to the park where Rizal's monument was. I forget the name of the park, I'm sorry. Baka merong audience who can give us the name. But he saw a Japanese man kneeling before Rizal's statue.
Wow.
And then he asked about it. And then the Japanese man said, because he is my God. So, hindi lang sa Philippines.
Yeah. And there is a double spread in the book about that very briefly and lists down all the organizations we were able to find that actually does worship Rizal.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And the different organizations, no? Like we have the Knights of Rizal as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
they're in there too.
There
In the book
are
too.
even parang cults that think he's still alive today.
That's
Diba, Divine?
Yes. According to Prof, yes.
So this one is, this is from Jennifer Biaco. And according to my professor of life and works of Rizal, the story of Si Pagong represents the Filipinos, at Si Maching represents the Spaniards. Is it possibly true? Are you guys familiar with that?
Hindi ko pa naririnig yung angle na yon, but from what we know, the story is a folk tale. So matagal nang nag-exist yung story, but maganda siyang interpretation. I mean, maybe that's why Jose Rizal liked it, diba? It felt like the Philippines was the underdog, but we win in the end. But that's the first time I heard that. So we will have to verify with our.
To answer that, so yes, it's possibly true.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so this one is from Julius Messina. This one hasn't been answered yet because I guess it's geared towards NPDC more. If NPDC would reinstall the footsteps from Rizal's cell in Fort Santiago to Luneta, since the rehabilitation of Fort Santiago was done, it was removed. So as a quick answer, so NPDC, National Parks Development Committee, in partnership with our sister agency, Intramuros Administration, we are actually planning to redo the footsteps of Rizal from Fort Santiago to Luneta through a new experience. So hindi na siya yung mga gold or yung mga copper plated footsteps kasi I think nanakaw yung mga yung mga
heard about that.
Yeah, so we're actually, before the pandemic, we were in talks with Facebook and Instagram Philippines to do an AR experience. So parang filter siya sa Instagram or Facebook, and you can walk walk from, physically walk. As you physically walk from Fort Santiago to Luneta, there are some places where you can actually turn on the AR filters and imagine and see what it was like when Rizal was walking on the way to his execution sa Bagong Bayan sa Luneta.
Wow.
So that was definitely in the works. It was supposed to be launched this June, but of course the pandemic hit, and we are hopeful na sana matuloy pa rin yung project na yun kasi I think that's one way to really engage the youth.
Yeah, ang ganda lang.
Using AR technology and Facebook, Instagram. That's the way the young ones communicate today. So sana matuloy pa rin yun. Facebook and Intramuros are partners out there if you're watching. Again, we have another question from, I cannot pronounce. Bulkia, Panalondong. How would we justify Rizal as our national hero based on Renato Constantino's veneration without understanding? Lalim yun.
As I understand it, he's not actually our national hero.
Walang dineclare na national hero.
We don't have a declared national hero officially. So, does anyone want to expound on how? Yeah, okay, Deveng, go ahead.
No, I'm looking at my código.
Because technically, there's nothing to justify because he is not our national hero.
Parang de facto national hero, I guess, because he's the most popular or known, or because of his works. But diba, they were parang there was a government body that called for diba, submission. Sino in-nominate nyo? Sino national hero? And there were a lot of entries. And it was so controversial na hindi na natuloy. So nobody was declared because I guess maybe we don't have one. We have a lot of heroes. We don't need just one. We have a lot. And all of them have different contributions to our country. All of them love the country. Most of them love the country to death. So how can you compare, diba? Na mas magaling to, yun din ang isa kasi sa traits natin mga Pilipino. Team A versus Team B, diba? Lagi tayong may sides. But we have to weigh
yung tribal nature natin.
We're better than you. Hindi ganun. Walang ganun, Mars. Hindi pwedeng ganun. Sana makita natin lagi yung merits, diba? We can see the pros and cons of things. Hindi tayo blind followers of personalities, but we have to follow strong principles. I think that's what we need to teach also our children. Don't be, wag tayo masyadong celebrity oriented, yung personality oriented na bawal i-criticize na yung favorite mo, diba? So let's accept that we're all humans. They have some of these heroes made bad decisions, but they have a lot of contributions to where we are now, diba? So yun.
Thank you for your Binibining Pilipinas answer.
Thank you.
And that is correct. I mean, just in Bagong Bayan alone, we've had over 800 executions under the Spanish rule. I mean, you can't say just one of them, is our national hero. We have hundreds. We have thousands of heroes.
We have thousands of heroes.
Even up to today, people are fighting for our country. So, and thank you for that question.
We also have a lot of unrecognized heroes, everyday heroes. So yeah, you don't have to be recognized to be a hero.
Exactly. Correct. And so another question: did he really get married? This is from Nathan Verdijo. Did he really get married to Josephine Bracken before his execution?
Okay, this is what we know. Okay, they were denied a church wedding because Rizal was in trouble with the colonial government. So ayaw silang ikasal ng church. So what he did was nagsumpaan sila ni Josephine sa dapitan. But there's a document also that showed that he retracted and para mabigyan sila ng para mapakasal sila ni Josephine. So yun yung the other side.
After his death, she tried to claim part of his books or library as his wife.
His collection, oo.
Yeah, so she felt she had a claim. I guess that kind of answers the question more on the probably they did.
Probably they did.
Okay, this is another question. Do you think Rizal, same from Bulkia, Londong, sorry. Thank you for your question. Do you think Rizal was entirely fair in the way he vilified the friars in his novel?
Well, it's perspective, isn't it? Because the novel is written from his perspective. And remember that as early as age 11, that whole Gomburza thing already stuck so deeply in his mind. So I guess it would depend on how you look at it and how you felt about the situation at the time. He may have felt that it was fair, and given his stand on things, well, to him that was the right thing to do. But
everything has two sides.
yeah, it's always so polarizing. I mean, we can see that now everywhere politically, right? Depending on whose side you're on, you're gonna think one side is vilifying or being correct or fair, and I don't see why it could have been any different in his time.
I
Do
think
we think
also
it is?
personally, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. Like, no, I was just saying, like, we might not even all agree. I think that perhaps given the time, it was fair because of what they were experiencing then, right? But that's just me. I mean, someone else could have a different opinion, and it would be just as valid because it would depend on where they were coming from, what they
Baka yun
believe.
yung
Yeah,
truth
Michelle.
niya eh. Yun yung truth ni Jose Rizal
Yun
at
yung
the
truth
time,
niya.
di ba?
Because of the land that belonged to his family that the friars took, di ba? So, syempre, there's a personal angle there. And, you can hide it in fiction. You can hide it in fiction. You can make whoever the kontrabida in fiction. To him, in that part of his life, they were the kontrabida.
What is bilipay in Tagalog?
Vilify, ginagawang kontrabida.
Basically, yeah.
Wonderful.
Ginagawang villain. Tama ba? Tama, di ba?
Ginagawang kontrabida, tama.
Oo.
There you go. There you go. Are your books available as an ebook or PDF?
No.
No.
Only
Sorry.
physically so far.
But you can order through tahananbooks.ph or Meg, we're still available on Shopee, right? Meg?
Yes, we are available on Shopee.
Okay,
And
so look for the merchant MRAS. Right, Meg? MRAS Trading.
If they want to buy the books, they can buy it at www.tahananbooks.ph. But we are also available in the other major bookstores in the Philippines. So that's National Bookstore, Fully Book. But we are not updated on their stocks. So best na yun siguro yung option to purchase online, so you don't have to leave your houses as well.
Right.
And if you
Online, you can buy in Shopee. So that's MRAS Book Trading. They're carrying our books. There are other sellers as well. But the longest we've been partnered with is MRAS Book Trading. And then there's also Pumple Pie Books.
especially if you're overseas.
Yes, they have international shipping.
Just order online, tahananbooks.ph. So yeah, you can
Don't see it in your bookstore. You can actually request for it. The more requests, they will entertain restocking.
Great. So we'll entertain a few more questions. This one's from Ryla Tan, all the way from Pampanga. Hello. What gave you the idea to make Jose Rizal's book full of color?
It's a colorful life. So we wanted to make it as colorful as possible. And so
We
that it would
wanted
be
to,
more interesting for go ahead, Ben. Yeah.
Yes.
You wanted
Sorry,
to
my go ahead because my connection is bad.
okay, yeah. So we also wanted to make it in color so that it would be a more fun thing to read. It's always nice to read a book when the pages are glossy and colored. I mean, you really want to take a look at what's inside. So that's why. If we
Also
could, we'd
because
make our books in color.
Rizal is a very covered topic. His life is a very covered topic. So how would you present it in a way that would catch attention when there are already volumes about him? By presenting it in a different way, I think that's the strength of the team.
You wanted it to
also.
appeal to the new generation, basically.
So Ryla is actually being homeschooled back in Pampanga.
Hi,
And
Ryla.
you know that Rizal was also homeschooled, no?
Yes.
Yeah.
He was.
Part. There are a
Right,
few
he
years
was
that he was homeschooled. He was also bullied, diba? He was bullied. So
I remember reading that he had one of the best collections, or his family had the best private library in the country, and he preferred reading and staying in that library rather than kasi he was bullied. He didn't really, I guess, get along with the other kids.
yeah, he was bullied, because of his physical appearance. He was too short. He had a big head. He had trouble walking because of that big head. Totoo yan. It's in the books. So,
Yes,
yun.
one more thing is that, kids, when they see the statue of Rizal, he looks so big and tall. But when you go to his house in Calamba, di ba, Divine, ang
Yeah.
liit ng damit niya. Parang nagulat ako, hindi kasya sa anak, It's really amazing how small he was. I really wanted to get his shoe size, his belt size. He was a tiny guy.
And this is why you should never bully anyone just because they're small or they look a little different. You will never know who they
Because
will become
they
when
can
they grow
do
up.
big things. Yeah.
They might make you the bad guy in their book,
Maybe they might get to that.
right?
They might
There was a-
vilify you.
There was a question. Could you share from David Sibayan? Could you share other instances of his sense of humor aside from his wacky posts with his propagandist friends? Oh, if you see our book, there are other photos of him in really funny poses. There was one where they pretended to be all drunk. It was something
Yeah.
else.
Also very forward siya. That's why he got a lot of girlfriends kasi hindi siya mahiyain with girls. He will introduce himself. He will, hindi siya torps, in
And he
other
was
words.
very popular.
Torpe siya
Yeah.
nung umpisa. I think that's what it
Oh,
is.
nung umpisa.
Oo, kasi merong the one that got away eh. Diba?
Oh, yun. Well,
Meron yan.
he learned his lesson, obviously.
Oo.
He
Naku, kung
learned his
sino-sino na
lesson.
sinulatan, no? Sino-sino na niligawan. It's an interesting life.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I guess that's all the questions we have and all the time we have. So once again, and you guys have any last words before?
I just want to emphasize ulit or reiterate that our book is not, just one book about Rizal and that's it. We want to kick the door wide open for the children to learn more about him, about other heroes. It encourages further study. So that's
Lots
why
of
we
books.
yeah,
Ang
ang
dami.
dami. There's a wealth of
Interesting.
material about not just Jose Rizal but all our heroes. So dami-daming Filipino authors that we should all read. Yun.
Wonderful. Great, great, great. So once again, thank you to all of to our guest speakers, Miss Michelline
Thank you.
Suarez, Miss Divine Hill Reyes, Miss Joonee Garcia, and Mr. Benjor Catindig for sharing your knowledge and your incredible book with all of us. We really had a wonderful time.
Thank you.
There's so much to really unpack. No, your book is really there's so much. It's a feast for the eyes, and I highly recommend our participants to check out or buy their book. It's really worth it.
Thank you.
So
If there are further questions, follow us on social media. We're quite active and we'd be happy to answer your questions over there as well.
thank you.
We'd also like to thank National Parks Development
Yes.
Committee.
Thank
Jez,
you for
thank you
inviting
so much.
us.
Cecil, thank you so much. We'd like to thank everyone who actually watched us. Thank you for staying, and we hope you partook in some of our knowledge.
And when the pandemic is over, do visit Rizal Park, visit Luneta. It's beautiful. It is
It's
worth
beautiful.
going to. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. Must go see it.
Lalo na now, ang daming park improvements. So, kudos to NPDC.
Thank you. And definitely this won't be the last time we will have you. We hope to have you again for our next webisodes of Park Conversations. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jez.
Thank you. And to all our viewers, if you missed some of our some of the parts of our webinar, you can rewatch it on our Facebook page in the video section. Feel free to like and share and leave your comments as well. Share to your friends. Our social media page. So before we end this webinar, again, we would like to remind everyone that we have already posted the survey link in the chat box and comment section below. Again, only those who will be able to submit their online survey will be getting a copy of their certificate of attendance. So again, maraming salamat sa inyong lahat. Thanks for staying for these last 2 hours. Again, I'm Jez Apelar. Thank you for watching Park Conversations by NPDC. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
watching. Buy our books. Tahanan. We'd like to thank Tahanan. Tahanan Books.
Thank
The
you for
best.
supporting us, Tahanan.
Meg, Rennie,
Thank you
and
to all the legit historians who helped us, Xiao, Ambet, and John Ray especially. Thank you so much. We
Now
stand
is
on your
watching.
shoulders. We stand on your shoulders, really.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
bye.